Hello, I'm your host Jim McLean. Welcome back to another episode of the BanterFlix movie review show here on NVTV. Let's see what movies we'll be talking about tonight. We'll be reviewing the French thriller Syndicaliste, which is being released in cinemas this week. We'll share our thoughts on Wes Anderson's Asteroid City. And our pick of the streams is Netflix's Extraction 2, starring Chris Hemsworth. So that's what we've lined up for you this week, and joining me in the studio this evening is Claire McCullough from Lit to the Tit.
Hello.
Claire, how are you? I know before we get into discussing all things movie related, you have a big birthday you want to talk about.
Yes, so it's Lit to the Tit's 4th birthday next month, and we're having a very special event for it in Southside Social. So this is our residency, and they're hosting a very fun birthday party. There's going to be cake, there's going to be prizes from local businesses in Belfast, and it's just going to be really good crack.
Fab. Now, you had me sold at cake, but for anybody watching who might not know what Lit to the Tit's all about, very quickly, tell us what it is.
So Lit to the Tit is a book club based in Belfast and a safe space for women, really. We do monthly events in Southside Social, and we also do like wholesome activities once a month too, and it's really just a place where women can go and make new friends and also have a lot of crack together.
Okay, fantastic. And where can people find out more about you?
So we are on Instagram, Literature to the Tit, and that's where you'll find all the information about all our events.
Fantastic. Now I think without any further ado, now we've got the introductions over and done with, let's get stuck into some movie news.
Hi, Barbie!
Hi, Ken! Hi, Barbie! Hi, Barbie! Hi, Barbie! Hi, Barbie! Hi, Barbie!
Hi, Barbie!
Hi, Ken!
Hi, Ken.
With the radio blast and goes cruising just as fast as she can now.
I thought I might stay over tonight.
Why?
Because we're girlfriend, boyfriend.
To do what?
I'm actually not sure.
So that's a look at Barbie. It's going to be out in cinemas next month. We're going to be off air. And I know you're very excited about this film, Claire. When you came into the studio, we mentioned Barbie, your eyes lit up. You knew the exact release date. You knew when it was going to be in cinemas. You've already said you're talking about your own events tickets. You've already got your ticket booked for this film. So just how excited are you for Greta Gerwig's feature?
I think it's going to be absolutely incredible. Was at the cinema last night, obviously, to go and see Asteroid City, and the trailer for Barbie came on again, and it's going to be fantastic. It's all the colour, the atmosphere in it. I think the acting's going to be amazing, and you'll probably disagree with this. I can't wait to see Ryan Gosling as Ken, because he's already been very vocal about he's just Ken. He's not really a significant part in this, and it's all about Barbie and it's all about the females. So I just can't wait to see what kind of route they go down with it. I think it's going to be really exciting.
You have me judged terribly wrong, Claire. I'm excited for Barbie. The trailer has intrigued me. We're kind of getting very much the Lego movie vibes and what it's trying to do. There's a bit of Xanadu thrown in there, there's a bit of mannequin. So I'm intrigued by the film. And you've already mentioned about Asteroid City, and we're going to be talking about it this evening. I'm excited by films that look a bit different from the standard blockbuster mold. Now, the early reviews have already been released. They are not glowing, we will say this, but they are warm. They are lukewarm, we'll say the least, about the film. But already the studio was saying there's possible talks for a sequel. So you're already excited about the first film. How excited are you for the potential that this might be a new series, new franchise? There might be Barbie spin-offs. Ken might get his own movie. You know, Ryan Gosling, he looks like a dreamboat, even with that hair. How excited are you about the potential for this becoming a new cinematic franchise?
Now, I don't know if I wanted to go down the overplayed, over-franchised route. I think that they should just let us enjoy the first one. see what we think of the first one before they, you know, start making second, third, fourth film and like financing it for a TV show spin-off as well. I think we should just be allowed to enjoy the first one, get excited about the first one. At least let us do Halloween with Barbie themes and everything like that, and then maybe discuss it in the future. But I feel like they might be getting ahead of themselves a wee bit.
Who knows?
Jumping the gun.
Who knows, Claire? Maybe we need prequels, TV spin-offs, as you say. You don't think like movie producers. They will maximise every ounce they can possibly squeeze from someone when they think they have a new viable IP. We've already seen the success of the Super Mario Brothers films earlier on this year. An animated film, I know, so who knows? We're going to have to watch this space. We'll have to wait until next month to review the film, but I think we'll move on because we're going to try to squeeze in 3 films this week to discuss as opposed to the usual 2. So let's have a look at some films we have seen.
Pourquoi vous jouez à la CFDT? Hein, c'est quoi ce délire? Vos questions à la direction, vous Jérémiade auprès du ministre, vous vous prenez pour qui?
Ça fait des semaines qu'on vous pose les mêmes questions sur ce projet chinois avec EDF et vous refusez d'y répondre.
Arrêtez de vous mêler de la stratégie de l'entreprise, vous n'y comprenez rien.
Ce que je comprends, c'est que vous bradez notre technologie aux Chinois.
Ah, me prenez pas pour un con. Hein. Je sais très bien que vous intriguez avec l'auvergeon pour me savonner la planche.
Vous êtes complètement parano, vous voyez de l'auvergeon partout.
Non, mais ça vous excite de vous croire plus importante que vous ne l'êtes?
Ne me touchez pas.
Faites attention. Si vous continuez, je vous traîne au tribunal, j'ai des appuis et des moyens que vous n'avez pas.
So that's a look at Le Syndicaliste. It's out in cinemas this week. It may only get a limited release here in Northern Ireland. You might also find it under the title The Sitting Duck. This is a film that tells the story, and it's based on a true story, of Maureen Kearney, a woman who discovered suspicious goings-ons in the French nuclear industry, and bad things happen. And I don't want to go too much into the plot, Claire, but the key selling point for me, we were talking about Barbie earlier on, very different film, I know, but we have the presence here of Isabelle Huppert, an actress I absolutely adore. She could read the phone book to me, and I would happily pay money to see it. But here we have, she's cast in the central role of this French thriller. What did you think?
I thought it was really good. I thought her acting was incredible. I did find it quite difficult to get into. Now, it was quite a slow start for me. But saying that, I enjoyed the film as a whole. It did test my concentration skills at the start. It had been a wee while since I'd watched a subtitled film and a French film and that as well. The story was... It was a good story. I couldn't believe that it had actually happened in real life as well. She's quite a badass. And it was quite interesting seeing the victim then become the accused. I won't go into too much detail about that though.
Yeah, I mean, there is rather depressing aspects of the narrative, and there is things that probably even now I find uncomfortable talking about. It's an interesting counter of a film to look at, say, opposed to, some people might be familiar with Isabelle Huppert's performance in Elle, Paul Verhoeven film that was released a couple of years ago, that deals with a woman that is sexually abused, and she uses that as a catalyst, for sort of a revenge thriller. It's a very interesting film. That was what sold me on this sense of the similarities in terms of what was happening within the structure of the plot. I will say it didn't grab me in the same way. It is a very slow moving feature. There is some shocking moments of it, not to say. It's a weird thing to say in the world that we live in now of the rise of the streamer. It feels like a very televisual film that is elevated by the presence of a fantastic actor like Isabelle Huppert. But it just, if truth be told, I didn't find it as thrilling as I thought to be in terms of the kind of narrative that it was going down. But for me, it was just a perfectly serviceable feature. Something I'd maybe expect to see during a festival screening in that type of mould. What I'd be saying to people to rush out to buy their ticket for, I don't necessarily know. Did you have that? I know you enjoyed it more than me, Claire, it seems.
No, I did enjoy it, and I thought that it handled like the sensitive issues of sexual assault very well. The only thing I would say is that I wouldn't be in a rush to watch it again. I think it's really a one and done sort of film. But if you are interested in a female lead that uncovers a lot of corruption within bigger companies, and if you're interested in the true story, then I'd definitely give it a watch. But yeah, quite similar to you. It did kind of feel like it was maybe like a Channel 4 sort of feature film.
Yeah, but
in parts.
The problem with that, though, is the standard for what we judge now as being a TV movie has been elevated in recent years. It's a perfectly fine, serviceable thriller. For me, the thing that elevates this is the presence of a fantastic central performance by Isabelle Huppert. I mean, I don't know, Claire, had you seen her in anything before? I've already mentioned the film Elle, which I'd seen her in with Paul Verhoeven. There's also Greta, which might have got a wider release, where she starred alongside Chloe Grace Moretz. Have you seen her before? Would you be tempted to seek out her back catalogue?
I've recognised her face, but I don't think I've ever seen any of her films. But after watching that one, I'd be really tempted to have a look at any previous films that she's been in.
Yeah, totally agree, Claire. I mean, I think this is a film worth seeking out, even with my reservation, even with your reservations as well. It may only get a limited release here in Northern Ireland. We'll have to wait and see. It might be a film that next month might get a screening at the QFT. But with that, let's move on and talk about a film that's already in cinemas, and definitely you'll have no problem seeking it out.
Oh.
How long can they keep us in Asteroid City? Legally, I mean.
Well, I'm not an attorney, but I'd say as long as they like. I think we'd have to file an injunction and successfully argue the case 6 months to a year. Of course, we'd also need to initiate a civil suit for loss of income.
Maybe we should just walk out right now. I'm not sure they could stop us without killing somebody.
Interesting idea. What kind of mileage do you think that jetpack gets?
Ask Roger or his son. Apparently he's being prosecuted for revealing state secrets.
I'll never make it stick.
I'm in no hurry. I like the desert. I like aliens.
Oh!
How'd you get that back? The projects remain under secure lockdown. No stargazers permitted personal access without the express permission.
My son invented this death ray.
That may be true, but my
Step
orders
back.
are...
Easy, fellas. We're not in Guadalcanal anymore.
Okay, everyone, please. It's been a difficult quarantine.
I'll stop you right now!
Damn it, tell them to stand down. Stand down. You hear that? General Gibson says stand down.
You married?
Of course.
So that's a look at Asteroid City. It's out in cinemas already, and this is Wes Anderson's latest film, following on from The French Dispatch, which got lukewarm reviews. I have to say, I wasn't personally a big fan, but this is a pretty impressive ensemble cast that Wes has assembled this time round. We go to the Arizona desert, and a group of people find themselves having this out-of-world encounter. Claire, what do you think?
I enjoyed every single second of that film. It was so entertaining. I feel like whenever actors sign up for a Wes Anderson film, they leave their pretensions at the door, and they just come together and make a really fun film together. I thought every clip just looked like the most perfect picture. It's just how he sets up his cinematography. Everything is fantastic. Now, I'm not sure I understood the surrealism of it. There is a lot to unpack in the film as well. Maybe some wee bits that I didn't quite understand, but for me, I found it really entertaining. Loved every second of it. Maybe found it quite hard to take seriously. I'm not sure if that's what they were going for. And Bryan Cranston was the most amazing narrator. And it's just really quirky and feel good as well. I really loved it.
Well, I'm delighted that you like this, because I have to say, like you, loved it. And I know viewers, apologies, I always say that doesn't make for great TV when we sit here and go, I loved it more. But I was pleasantly surprised by this. As I said at the outset, I wasn't a huge fan of The French Dispatch. And I think if I'm honest, it was that sense that maybe the charm and the allure of Wes Anderson was starting to run a bit thin for me, because the criticism is he largely makes the same type of film over and over again with the same quirks and mannerisms. I don't think that's any different here with Asteroid City, but I loved it. I generally, I mean, you've mentioned about it being surreal and absurdist at times. We have this structure that he has developed that's similar to an extent in what we saw in his previous feature, where we have the play within a play, or also the real life events that are transpiring. As I say, the basic premise is we have a playwright who has written the aforementioned Asteroid City, played by Edward Norton, and then every so often we go back into colour and we see the events of Asteroid City unfolding. I don't know if the two things necessarily merge that well. The key thing is I didn't care, because I thoroughly enjoyed it, had a laugh. Last week, regular viewers will know we were talking about the Jennifer Lawrence feature, No Hard Feelings, and I, as I said last time, I sat through that film and barely mustered a chuckle. I had proper belly laughs in this. It was funny. There's one sequence in particular, without going into spoilers, featuring Bryan Cranston as the narrator, that had me properly laughing out loud in the cinema. So you're coming back to what you were saying, I mean, you sound, Claire, like you are a Wes Anderson fan.
Yeah, I am. Grand Budapest Hotel is one of my favourite films, probably my favourite film by him. I don't think this one matches up to it, because it's just such an incredible film and I love it so much, but it's still really, really good, and I would definitely go back and watch it again.
But also notably, this is the first Wes Anderson film where we don't have Bill Murray. Now, I was talking to our cameraman producer off air, saying that unfortunately Bill Murray caught COVID before he was due to film his scenes. That role's been taken over by Steve Carell, who holds his own in the role. But did you not miss the presence of Bill Murray in a Wes Anderson feature?
I did, and I was actually watching it wondering who he was supposed to be during the film. So he was supposed to be Steve Carell's character. Do you know what? I welcomed Steve Carell. I thought he did really well in the film, and he was a really nice addition to it. But of course, Bill Murray would have been fantastic as well.
I want to just pause for a minute just to say that Maya Hawke, who plays a school teacher in this feature, having to hold together probably the most non-rowdy group of school children I can possibly think of. I think she's fantastic. Anything I see her in, if it's not Stranger Things and it's in this, I know there's a couple other films later in the year she's going to be in, she continues just to captivate me in that sense. I very much enjoy watching her on screen as an actor. So I want to put a bit of pause for a minute to say I thought she was fab, but anyone else you want to throw a bit of a light on? Claire McCullough, who would you recommend in Asteroid City?
I think for me, the kids stole the show. That part where there was one part in particular that had me, it literally sent me on another planet. I was laughing so hard, where the kid kind of brings on a wee song. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. The kids were just so humorous. Really good acting from all of them. Loved them. Thought they were fantastic. Every single one of them. Just really entertaining. But also Jeff Goldblum. He's in the film for less than a minute, and he also had me in stitches too. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And he just sort of creeps up in the film out of nowhere.
Yeah. Now, I know we're going to have to move on to our pick of the streams for this week, but I wanted to ask one key thing. You mentioned you saw this in the cinema, as did I. The screening I was at was packed. Not everybody loved the film. There was a couple of people murmuring as they left, what was that all about, which usually makes me love the film more. But I wonder why I enjoyed the film, other than the fact that I do like Wes Anderson's sense of humour. I love his camera work. The camera work, as you've mentioned, is fab. Mm-hmm. But the fact that we're in a stage right now where in the standard multiplex, as opposed to the QFT, it is blockbuster overload right now. Some of those films are finding an audience, like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Others are not finding the audience, like The Flash, which has floundered at the American box office. I wonder, the reason why I love this film so much is the fact that we've been served up such an overdose of these blockbusters. Here we have something different, stylish, full of actors being allowed to just do their thing. And is that maybe why I'm having such a positive response to it? I don't know, it's just a half-baked thought, Claire, I've thought while we're doing this recording. But for you, do you think there's that sense of it's something a little bit different from the blockbuster overload we're getting at cinemas right now?
Yes, I actually had the exact same conversation after the film was over with my friend, and along the same lines as you, it really feels like, I don't know if it's because Wes Anderson is also trending on TikTok right now, so you're seeing a lot of his sort of style about the place, which is fantastic, and it's great to see people being so creative too. I think he might be one of the only really original filmmakers at the minute. Everything else just feels like it's a cardboard, like, you know, it's just a relay of the same action film at the minute, or it's a remake of something. This is pure originality. It's quirky, it's silly, it's so artistic, it's so creative, and I feel like there's not enough of that in the cinema at the minute.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think on that note, on an upbeat note, let's move on to this week's Pick of the Streams.
Tyler, we got your 6.
Got it. Nick, get rid of these guys.
Already on it. One thread down.
Nick, you got 2 pots. I'm coming in quick.
Hurry!
Hang on tight.
UTV on our left.
We gotta move!
Rick, you are the legend. I have to say, mate, you're living up to the hype. Rick. That's such a fun name to say.
So that's a look at Extraction 2. Claire, you were being all enthusiastic and upbeat and talking about looking for something a little bit different from your trips to the cinema. Okay, now we're able to watch this film from the beauty of home. This is on Netflix, of course. It's Extraction 2 with Chris Hemsworth, Dreamboat Chris Hemsworth. I don't know if you were a fan of the first film. It was released during the pandemic. It got massive numbers on Netflix's streaming service, possibly because at that stage we were craving something new and a bit of a distraction from the ongoing doom and gloom. So have you seen the first film?
No, I didn't watch the first one, which is probably a bad thing because I watched the second one, and maybe that's why I didn't really get into this series. But I did read that it was like the most streamed film on Netflix ever, which is really good going, but then it was also in the middle of the pandemic, so that probably was why.
Yeah, I watched the first film when it was released and I was lukewarm. I can't remember if when we were doing this show from home, whether we reviewed it or not. I'd have to go back through the back catalogue. I find it a little bit generic and a little bit like a standard run-of-the-mill action movie, elevated by the presence of an actor like Chris Hemsworth. I feel recurring themes are popping up on this week's show where the presence of an actor can elevate something that's a bit meh, and you're talking about looking for something a little bit different. That said, in the first film, the action sequences were handled really well. They're directed by the stuntman who worked with the Russos on the Avengers movies. One of the Russos was producer for the first film. He's returning here. So this time round, it's like standard sequel. It's bigger, it's louder, crash, bang, wallop, rinse, repeat. It's fine. I don't think they're gonna let me stick that on the movie poster anytime soon. It's perfectly serviceable. The action sequences, there's 3 in particular. There's I think about a 21-minute shot that's made to look like it's all done in one take, is fantastic. Now, We were talking about cinema a minute ago. We're going to park that discussion just for now. You said you've come into this having not seen the previous instalment. What did you think of this film?
Just like you said, it's a generic action film. Chris Hemsworth, he is a lovely man to look at, and he's a great actor too, and he obviously carries this very mediocre film. There's a lot of action, yeah. There isn't, I mean, the storyline, I'm sure, if it grabs your attention enough, I'm sure it's an enjoyable enough storyline. I found the plot a bit meh. It didn't really excite me that much. There was a few scenes towards the end that got quite good, but it's a run-of-the-mill action film, and unfortunately it feels like Chris Hemsworth has sold out to it.
Well, I don't know if Chris is sold out. I mean, the plot is secondary in these features. It's like the John Wick franchise.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing I wanted to talk about, the fact that I would love to see this on the big screen, on a big screen with a proper, great big sound system, to see if that affects my enjoyment of the feature. I don't know whether the fact I'm watching it from home, usually watching the film with my lovely wife, I find it that sense of, I've seen everything here before. In this sense, we haven't really talked about the plot, in that sense that Chris Hemsworth is tasked by Idris Elba, of all people, to go in and rescue a family from prison. That's as much as you really need to know going in. The standout element is the visuals. The standout element is the way the action sequences are handled. I just think I possibly would have enjoyed it more. I don't know, because I know anytime I have this discussion, particularly with filmmakers, I always think of Liam McGuigan ranting at me vigorously the last time I made this point. I'd probably want to see this film in the cinema as opposed to watching it on Netflix. And I don't know, you were lukewarm in this. I know you haven't seen the previous instalment. I don't think you need to have seen Extraction 1 to fully understand Extraction 2. You can pretty much walk into this franchise. I think it'll be a bit like the Fast and Furious movies. You could probably walk in on the 8th or 9th instalment and not really need to have seen anything else. But do you think possibly, just possibly, despite your reservations, you might have enjoyed it more in the cinema, where you're in an environment that forces you to put away your phone? You've made your choice to go to the cinema, you're fully dressed, you're there, well, hopefully dressed. But do you think that might play some point into your enjoyment of the film?
Well, to be honest, I feel like the cinema makes any film more enjoyable. It's just the energy and the atmosphere in the cinema. So I feel like of course it would have grabbed my attention a lot more, and I maybe might have a slightly better review of it, but it is a generic action film.
Yeah, well look, it is what it is. It's like Ron Seal. It does exactly what it says on the tin. There's an audience out there for those films. The success of the John Wick franchise still makes me think why Netflix aren't tempted to put this on, to give it a theatrical run. I don't know, but I guess they need these IPs and this content to keep subscribers. So that's obviously, the numbers add up. You've already said earlier on, Claire, the first film was one of the most viewed on the streaming service. The sequel is doing similar numbers. So it makes a third one, fourth, fifth, sixth, all but inevitable. But look, that is all we have time for on this episode. And sadly on this series, yes viewers, this is the last episode in the current series, but we will be back in September to review more movies. I know, Claire, I could ask you, I don't even think I need to ask you, of all the films during the summer you're most excited about, which would it be? Because I get a sense, you already mentioned it, that you might be ever so excited about the Barbie movie.
Mm-hmm. Very excited about the Barbie movie, and we'll be reviewing it.
Yeah, we'll be talking about it in September, I'm sure, at some point when it's getting its DVD release. We will get you on. But yeah, look, that is us wrapped up for this series. Thank you at home for watching throughout the series. Thank you, Claire, for giving up your time this evening to come in and talk about all things cinematic for this week.
Thank you, it's been a pleasure as always.
As always, fab to have you on the show. So that's us. Thank you very much for watching. As I say, we'll be back in September with a brand new series. But for now, until then, goodbye. you.